Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Shado, the internet personality disappointing the fuck out of 90% of his subscribers today, as this time on...
The Summer of Freddy versus Jason!
We are not covering Freddy vs. Jason, and instead looking at the remakes first. Not even in the proper order, as the Friday the 13th remake came out in 2009, while A Nightmare on Elm Street was remade in 2010. I was trying to balance between movies that feature Freddy and feature Jason at least somewhat, and we just came off 3 Jason films in a row, so here we are. The point is, even with the mixed to positive reviews of Wes Craven's New Nightmare, New Line Cinema decided not to continue the franchise on that timeline and instead just reboot the whole thing with more than a little influence from Nolan's Batman films. So it's dark, gritty, sepia-toned, and produced by Michael Bay. It's also the first time someone other than Robert Englund has been given the role of Freddy Krueger in any official and serious capacity. Here he's portrayed by Jackie Earle Haley, who played Rorschach in Watchmen. Though Robert said that he was a good actor to pass the torch on to. And Wes didn't care for the idea of a remake at all. Then again, I don't think Wes really approved of any movie in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise that he didn't have any personal ties to. In this movie, horror strikes in Springwood, Ohio, as teenagers begin suddenly dying in their sleep. However, one teenager, Nancy, may be able to solve this mystery of what's causing it and fight back against the supernatural threat once and for all. And it's gotta be for all because the hard reception this had with critics and moviegoers alike kinda nixed the ideas of there being any kind of trilogy that they originally planned. But nevertheless, let's take a look at A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 and actually examine it for ourselves. It starts out promising enough. I know it's only the opening credits and anyone can do creepy kids set to classical music with horror whooshing, but it's setting the mood. Except I can't help but notice they couldn't commit to having the credits written in chalk and just pasted easy-to-read traditional credits over that are far less disturbing. You know, in theory. If that man has continued to be given free rein to tear apart 80s classics, he's gonna go down in history as a supervillain. When the movie actually starts, we find ourselves in a diner where Dean, played by Kellen Lutz, starts calling to the waitress for not stopping and giving him more coffee. Obviously, we don't need any further hints that he's in a dream at this point, but he gets up and pursues the woman, even going into the back of the diner where she remains just out of reach, and the remains of dismembered pigs lay ablaze on the stovetops.
Dean!
I told you if you keep falling asleep, they're gonna kick you out of here.
He should already know this. Most establishments don't really like it when their tables are taken up by cadavers. This waitress, Nancy, played by Rooney Mara, doesn't stick around long enough to see that Dean's hand has actually been cut. Never mind that, we've got to introduce even more characters, like Chris, played by Katie Cassidy. She's just here to see Dean.
Wow, you look like you haven't.
Like I haven't slept in 3 days?
That's because I actually haven't. I really wanted to get into character, and acting is too much work. At another table, we also meet Quentin, the meek, socially awkward love interest of Nancy, who can't articulate his feelings past "refill please," played by Kyle Gallner, and Jesse, the most awesome character in the whole movie, played by Thomas Dekker.
Come on. That's fucked up.
What was that all about?
Jesse saw Chris with Dean, and he's kind of upset because he sees Chris as a love interest. No, not Nancy. Nancy's love interest is Quentin. Because everyone in this diner kind of loves each other. Dean explains to Chris that he can't sleep because he's afraid to. He's been stalked in his dreams by this burnt man with knives for fingers. She assures him that if it's a dream, they can't hurt him, to which he fumbles and makes a mess, causing her to leave to clean off. Now that he's had all of 1 second to himself. Freddy goes in for the kill with a steak knife, because it sucks having to clean your glove after every teenager.
Dean!
Okay, it's been a pretty long time since I've really had a chance to say this, but those are actually some pretty good gore effects. Dying so hard it summons the title screen, this teleports us over to Dean's funeral. Yes, he's another one of those special victims who gets one where no one else will. Don't worry though, he wasn't that important.
And the power and the glory.
Great show of friendship conk out during his eulogy. Why not just catch some Z's while you're in the middle of telling him that you'll always be there for him in case he needs you? This introduces a mystery to Chris, though, as she notices a picture of her and Dean together as small children, but she doesn't remember ever meeting him before high school. The topic quickly changes anyway, to her trying to tell Decker that Dean said that there was some kind of specter trying to kill him, and she thinks that might be true. Jesse doesn't buy this, but Nancy believes her.
You didn't see anything. You weren't right there. Chris was.
But I just told you I saw...
You didn't see anything either. Fuck all of you. Nobody sees anything anymore, guys.
So this goes nowhere, and Nancy just goes home to pay homage to the original movie some more. How much money was spent on that shot? Because it looked like dog shit compared to the sheet pulled over a hole in the wall. Chris, however, is working on getting to the bottom of this mystery of the picture she can't remember. Her mother assures her it's nothing. She never met Dean before high school anyway, and who could possibly remember being 5 years old? Not satisfied, she heads into the attic to dig through the old pictures, too old for the family photo album. She also finds things so terrifying, they kill the lights.
Remember me?
No, she doesn't. That's kind of the whole point of this scene, Fred. But it was all just a dream! Like, one she can actually wake up from, so it's cool. She can go to school the next day, no problem, drift off to sleep in class, and get a lesson on the subject. But like lots of school lessons, they don't actually teach the kids anything, and instead seem more focused on maintaining obedience.
This followed one little bit.
Kruger, you already started killing in this movie during the opening sequence. You can stop fucking with the kids anytime now. Seems he was more interested in showing he can cut her hair, because the opening where he cut Dean's fucking throat wasn't impressive enough. She avoids telling anyone about this, but when she gets home she learns her mother is going to be leaving town for a bit, and that night, all alone, she hears weird noises around her house.
Jesus, Jesse.
Why are you referencing Glenn? You're supposed to be the remake version of Rod. They're not gonna pay you extra for this. At least with him here, she can get the nightmares she's been having off her chest. Could be helpful, as he's supposedly been having nightmares too.
And he's always trying to attack me with these knives.
On his fingers.
We're having the same dream.
Chris, it's not possible.
It is possible.
It's just a dream, all right?
You didn't say anything! I didn't say anything! I represent denial. But I never said that! So he shouts down any rebuttal to the obvious fact that they are seeing the same guy Dean did, and death is a distinct possibility, and go to sleep. However, more weird noises arrest Chris's attention, and she heads outside to check on her dog.
I was just patting him.
Okay, was Kruger's sense of humor reimagined to fall flat, or what? His jokes are so bland, Chris runs for her life into a preschool full of ghost kids and Freddy.
Ready or not, here I come.
Stop fucking waking up already!
Told you.
Fucking finally. Freddy, finish filleting the female. Okay. You pay homage to a highly memorable kill from the original movie by only using like 5% of the blood that was in that scene. And what's next? You're gonna get Johnny Depp sucked into his bed and then it goes poof. So she's dead as shit, and Jesse is slightly spritzed with her blood. Knowing this looks bad, he flees from the area. At first I was wondering why the hell you came in through the window even though her mother was out of town. But if you knew about the alarm system, then that would explain why you would come in through the window. And it wouldn't make any sense as to why you would leave through the alarm in this situation. Being a small town in Ohio, naturally the Brinks home security system summons up a fucking army of police to hunt Jesse down in seconds. No helicopter though, so I'd estimate a 3-star wanted level or so. Eventually he slips away to run into Nancy's house and impart some important information.
Freddy. It's his name and he's in all of our heads, Nancy.
That's impossible.
Sure, Nancy's the one who knows the most about Freddy and believed Dean's story first thing before anyone else did, but now she suddenly doesn't because it's Jesse, and, fuck it, the plot's gotta get crippled somehow. Stopping to chat this long has given the police plenty of time to catch up to him, and his strategy of don't do what they tell you and instead just scream that you're innocent doesn't work out so well, resulting in him taking a trip to jail. Or prison, as they're very quick to put him in an orange jumpsuit. Oh well, life goes on, so Nancy calls up Quentin about the recent events, and he heads to the library to look up the details of sleep deprivation, getting some science up in this bitch before succumbing to the effects of it himself. But it's cool. Freddy knows that we've got like an hour to go, and you generally don't have very high body counts in the Nightmare franchise. So Nancy and Quentin work together on this mystery while Jesse is home free because his parents bailed him out! Nah, of course, it's also just a dream, meaning he's back to the old boiler room to meet up with Freddy Krueger.
What do you want from me?
I don't know, Jesse. You think you could turn back time?
Huh? Well, I do got a Time Wizard card. If you want it that bad, what do you got to trade?
Do you think you can bring the dead back to life?
Monster Reborn? Man, I can get this out of a starter deck. Can I use the Monster Reborn card now? So Jesse dies in his cell, in the view of one prisoner and the CCTV system, but that's just the start of this hell.
Did you know that after the heart stops beating, the brain keeps functioning for well over 7 minutes?
Well, it wasn't the first thought to come up, but, now that you mention it, when the hell did you get that neuroscience degree, Fred? It makes for a nice scientific basis for the terror, but it still confuses me because it's hard to explain how Freddy came across this information. At least Quentin and Nancy are seen looking up library books to explain the important information for the rules of this horror movie.
But then it says at the 70-hour mark, the insomniac will begin to experience micronaps. His brain will begin to shut down its functions for several seconds in an attempt to recharge itself. This basically means that you're dreaming, but you don't know it.
I had plenty of time to get used to that this summer. Coffee only works for so long.
And then it says that after that, your brain will shut down, inducing a coma. Just permanent sleep.
Well, more importantly, there's the whole death from lack of sleep thing that happens and is verifiable. But, yeah, comas can be pretty bad, but, there are quite a few people that do wake up from them, So the rules are established, but there's still the mystery of how Chris was in the picture with Dean. Nancy's mother, Gwen, played by Connie Britton, says they never knew each other before high school and stop asking questions, before Nancy decides to investigate this herself in the dream world, setting up an alarm before laying down to take a nap.
Honey, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, Mom.
Sure, actively taking a nap in a bathtub full of water is fucking stupid, but, how else are they supposed to pay homage to the part where Nancy accidentally fell asleep in a bathtub in the original and Krueger attacked her? Homage over anyway, there's no bottomless bathtub to escape from here. Instead, she just takes a walk through the snow over to the Badham preschool, so we can get more of the plot explained by our friendly neighborhood narrator.
Little Nancy. All grown up.
You're just a nightmare.
That's right.
Nancy's grown up, and this is a nightmare. It's very important information to have. He also goes over how he has a history with Nancy, but evidently she can't remember it due to the memories being repressed. No bother, she's still his favorite.
I set an alarm.
Yes, you did. In your dream.
Wait, if she said it in her dream, how the hell was she able to read the time and set the thing? And before, all you out there is say, oh, I read in my dreams all the time, pipe up. Yeah, next time you start reading in your dreams, try reading the same thing twice. It really fucks with things. As luck would have it, Quentin just so happens to call her up right then anyway, to let her know that Jesse died in jail. As they must find out the truth of if they did in fact know each other before high school, the two of them begin digging around, looking for secrets.
Help me.
What's this turn out to be Gwen's secret butt plug collection? Actually, it's a big, obvious envelope containing nothing but one huge preschool glass photo, showing the faces and names of all the kids in the class. It's pretty hard evidence that they did in fact meet each other well before high school. Nancy's mom is going to have to come up with a good excuse for this.
Why would you lie to me?
I didn't lie.
It's right here. Why would you lie to me? Stop lying to me.
I'm not lying to you.
La 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 la, Nancy's a racist. La 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 la. She finally admits, yeah, they went to the preschool and there was a guy named Freddy there.
He was a gardener.
Simpsons did it. Though I'm not so sure that groundskeeper Willie was quite as up on his neuroscience. As the story goes, Freddy lived in the basement of the preschool and was very fond of the kids there. Perhaps a little too fond.
She takes us to the secret cave.
It's okay. It's alright.
Now, be strong. I want you to concentrate and try and remember, please. Was there any good loot down there?
He left town before we ever were able to confront him.
Okay, previously we could kind of understand why you would maybe lie about your kid's past and try and make sure that they don't remember being molested, but at this point in the story, what fucking reason do you have to lie about this? So the plot can continue to be unraveled as slowly as possible. Quentin is satisfied their nightmares are just repressed memories. Fuck the 3 dead friends. Their memories are just really repressed. Thus, nothing to be afraid of. Nancy isn't satisfied, though, and Googles the other names on the class photo, learning that each and every one of them has died in some horrifying manner. Quentin, on the other hand, is finding out his own horrors await in the school's swimming club. Freddy's not trying to kill him. I think it's just that the original concept for this movie was actually a prequel explaining the origin of Freddy Krueger in a lot more detail, and it seems that the guy is still really wanting to get that off his chest. Thus it's revealed that Krueger didn't skip town before justice could be served, but was chased down by a mob of angry parents. Also, this time, no, it's not because the courts failed and let him off on a technicality. There's just a bunch of assholes who are so adamant about erasing their kids' memories, they refused to have them testify and just went straight for mob justice.
This is for my son!
What's everyone looking so shocked for? Michael Bay, remember? Krueger does come out long enough to show us fire burns people and scare Quentin back awake, cause it's not time to kill him yet. Nancy, on the other hand, is just finishing off the list of kids, finding the true horrors, not even the death. But even after one of them died live on camera for the internet, it still didn't go viral and nobody knew about it. Ah well, moving on, Quentin and Nancy meet back up to berate Quentin's father, Alan, played by Clancy Brown, over the backstory.
We were protecting. From what? From him. From what he did to you. From what you kids told us he
We were 5! The cave? Did you ever find it?
No.
How do you know he was guilty?
Oh my god.
You killed an innocent man.
Oh no, poor Krueger, unjustly hunted down and destroyed when all he wanted to do was fiddle little kids. Quentin, the fuck! So yeah, now the story is that Krueger is the real victim here. Sure. Still, Nancy thinks they might have some way to stop him if they figure out what it is about the preschool that might be the key to something, and they're off.
Nancy.
It worked in the original because Nancy saw Tina in the body bag on the news, and then it was repeated in the dream throughout the movie, and it was just kind of a theme that they worked with here. It's just a one-off thing to remind us the original movie exists, and we should probably be watching that. Storyline-wise, it's to establish that Nancy is suffering micronaps, and they have to hurry to the pharmacy because Quentin's meds that help keep him awake have run out, and he needs a refill. And that's going to keep happening for a while. There's nothing scarier than establishing that when you see Freddy, there's a 95% chance that you're probably going to live anyway. Quentin is taking too long, though, as the pharmacist refuses to refill his prescription. Especially as, sleep-deprived, he comes off as a junkie. Or maybe that's just because he's Kyle Gallner. Anyway, this scene actually is pretty nice artistically, as Nancy's sleep deprivation is causing her to be in between the dream world and the real world, suffering at the hand of Freddy, while we see it actually affecting things around her.
Oh my God!
Krueger, you could be a little less obvious about the fact that you're not actually trying to kill her? She's cut though, so Quentin steals some bandages and takes her to the hospital. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea, as the first thing they try to do is sedate her, which obviously they don't want to happen. Nevertheless, Quentin steals some adrenaline shots, and then Nancy. Really productive hospital visit. Oh well, nothing left to do but drive down to the old abandoned preschool. Normally I would question why you would dodge the killer instead of just running his ass down with your truck, but then again we have already established in this series that it's a very bad idea to try to run Freddy Krueger over. And also it's a Michael Bay film, so you probably don't want to risk a car accident anyway. No bother, they don't need the car, they're already here, so now it's just a matter of combing the preschool and keeping an eye out for anything weird.
Are you okay?
It's the editing, man. The cuts. What the hell is going on? The secrets in Krueger's basement are easy enough to discover, however. Turns out there was a removable side panel leading to a dark compartment. This reveals to the kids that, yeah, Krueger was guilty as fuck, as he had a little box there full of Polaroids of naked children. Or naked Nancy, anyway. So yeah, he's not innocent, and they can't prove that to put him to rest, so they're gonna die. However, Nancy remembers that in the pharmacy, she ripped Krueger's sweater and brought it out into the real world. So if she can hold on to him like in the first movie, they might be able to repeat the climax from that and take him out for good. Thus, Nancy lays down to sleep, while Quentin stays watch to wake her up when she starts to struggle. And instantly falls asleep like the useless sack of shit that he is. You can, however, maybe try some emotion, like at all. I mean, you fell down with the same look on your face that you had all movie. With Quentin out of the way, Krueger moves in on Nancy. Not killing her, of course, as his desires are quite different in this version of the story. Dream-tying her to a bed where he has all the time in the world to get his ghost jollies off.
You can't wake up. I had to keep you awake long enough. So when you finally slept, you'd never wake up again.
You were a gardener. When did you have all the time to research how sleep and comas work? I mean, I admit the information is very handy in your current occupation, but what, do they have a library in hell? But what's this? Quentin is not dead. He's just a little diced. Therefore, he can use the adrenaline shot to revive Nancy, kicking that whole coma concept in the ass, and bringing Krueger out into the real world. Problem is, now they have to kill him, and they're not very good at this.
Nice try, Nancy. Now let me take a stab.
Dude, you don't have the charisma of Robert Englund. You know, maybe you could try doing what your strength is and describe the angles and equations about the physics about how you're going to fucking cut them to pieces. He is quite formidable in the real world, but unfortunately for Krueger, he is also vulnerable. And after being disarmed, Nancy slices his fucking neck before they both decide for old time's sake, why not burn the place to the ground? Therefore, happy ending! Nancy and Quentin survived. The old preschool is now a smoking ruin, and they can sleep soundly now that they know that Krueger is finally gone.
I'm just glad you're safe.
Final scare before the credits? Check. Anyway, that was A Nightmare on Elm Street, 2010. And, you know, they actually did have quite a few things going for it. But they sure managed to fuck it up where it counts. The first thing to say is I actually think this movie isn't the absolute shitfest it's been made out to be. Roger Ebert evidently gave this movie a 1, and I don't agree with that at all. Yes, there are plenty of problems, and the comments are going to be loaded with tons more examples I didn't have time to mention in this review, but the movie's not 1 star bad. The general atmosphere throughout worked pretty well, and while some effects were shockingly terrible, most actually looked very high quality. A common point of contention is Freddy's new face, which I can see why. It said they wanted to go for what a burn victim really looked like, but then dialed it back for being too disturbing to sell to audiences. So they didn't want to make their horror movie too horrifying. Oy. I also like the aspect of the story going into some more scientific aspects of sleep. It's still not 100% accurate. They talk about sleep coma and not dying from lack of sleep, which sounds to me like a hell of a lot more motivating of a factor to use, but overall, the way they went about it gave more of a feeling of authentic horror. It was awkward that Krueger happened to be in the know about these esoteric topics, but it didn't detract too much from the presentation. What did was the fact that they went out of their way to humanize Krueger first and foremost, even going so far as to bring up the idea that he was just an innocent man who was kind to children cruelly hunted down by an angry mob. Remember what I said about slasher villains? The less human, the better, and this movie did everything it could to make Krueger not scary. And then there's the little things like Freddy making jokes that fall flat, and practically every major team character being able to be described as the emo one, or 12. Pretty sure the preschool fucked them up even without taking Krueger into account. Overall, though, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 is an ambitious attempt to reimagine the franchise for the overly gritty style of the time that actually almost worked. However, neutering the killer and relying way too much on nostalgia shots severely hurt its potential, coming in at 3 twitchy Parkinson's Freddy fingers out of 5. One of the big reasons the joking worked with Robert but not with Jackie, I think, is because Robert would smile and ham it up, and Jackie would just deliver it in the same dark, gritty, serious nature, and it just didn't work. I mean, even Heath Ledger's Joker knew when to be dark, gritty, and serious, and when to bring in just enough silliness to make it work. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I've been Dr. Shado, and remember, Freddy Krueger's origin story in this film is a bass-splosion. And that's really all you have to tell anyone about this movie.
Now that you got me, what game do you want to play next?
Fuck you.
Ooh, sounds like fun. It's a little fast for me.